Hi, welcome to Winter Nation. My name is Michael Fagan. I'm the host. Each week I bring on interesting guests from hospitality, politics, and entertainment. Today I'm honored to bring on Sheriff Eric Scheffler. Sheriff is a retired lieutenant police officer in Atlantic City PD. He is the current sheriff of Atlantic County. And if you think you know what a sheriff's duties are, you don't know what this sheriff's duties have been. Eric, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you on today.
Well, thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here.
We got to talk a little bit last week at a function, and you gave me a lot of time. I appreciate that. But my one question to you was your community engagement, how you, as a sheriff, you think like, okay, you protect the courts, you protect the judges, you have your normal duties, but you go above and beyond. You get involved in the community. You have so many programs going on. And I asked you why. And you said, well, that's just what you feel your responsibility is to the community. Talk about some of those, how you engage with the community, some of the programs that you have started, that you're involved with, and how you're helping out the people, especially in these crazy, tough times.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I mean, the reality, it's a very interesting thing. And depending on, how you perceive your own position and law enforcement, and the reality of it is that it's a partnership with the community, right? It's not us policing or, we're not an occupied force. We're a partner. Right. We're more than a partner, honestly. We're part of the community, right? We're your brothers, your sisters, your fathers, your mothers, your sons, your daughters. So if we're not partnering with the community and we're not looking at the needs of the community, as well as, needs of individuals, honestly, because people are like saying, well, what are your politics about?
Right.
My politics are about people. I'm not very good at the political game, honestly. And honestly, if this was a political show and you wanted to talk about national politics, I'd have to tell you, you'd have to probably get someone else because I'm not very educated on it and I'm not very interested in it. What I'm interested in is the needs of individuals and how we as elected officials, law enforcement executive, or just everyday people can help each other to meet those needs. Right? Because those needs, if we meet people's needs, if we meet people where they live and where they are and where they are in their lives, we're able to create healthier communities, right?
Right.
And when we create healthier communities, we absolutely create safer communities. There's no doubt about it. So how do you create healthier environments, right? And I did it actually in my own department, because there are people too, right? And so When I came into as sheriff, I try to address the needs of my officers. And over the past 2.5 years plus, we've been able to really change the office. We've made it, our professional development program is incredible. We've gotten them equipment and gave them, training opportunities and work opportunities that honestly has never been seen in the history of our office. We've created partnerships that we've never had, and we've really changed that. I created a wellness program and a resiliency program. We've done social resiliency and gotten together and trying to really address our officers. We have a employee in a month program to recognize people. We've created all kinds of other things. We have a scholarship program that's coming up, the first scholarship in the history of the agency for officers, civilians, as well as their children to be able to apply and get some funding to go to school. So we're trying to create a healthier community within my own agency. And I created a foundation, the Sheriff's Foundation, which was based on resiliency and wellness for both the community and my agency. So trying to create a healthier environment, making healthier officers, better professional, agency, which would absolutely correlate to, better police community interactions. So let's swing to the community itself, right? So the community itself, when I was running, I talked about a lot of different things. And one of the things I talked about was mental health and addiction and how, it was plaguing our nation and our area, honestly, and that I would address it. And a lot of people, honestly, said, well, that's just politics. He can't do anything about that. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But the truth is, I've lived it. I've been a parent of a person in active addiction for over 15 years and gone through these highs and lows. As a police officer, I was one of the two first resiliency officers in the state of New Jersey. understanding how coping skills can help police officers, because police officers suffer mental health and addiction issues as well. And I've seen that throughout my career. People suffering, people lose their jobs, their families, their relationships, and unfortunately, many of them losing their lives as well. So I knew there was better out there. We had a better system, and there's a lot of good resources that exist. I mean, more resources today, Michael, than in the history of our country in Atlantic County and throughout it. But
you told me a couple things that really stuck out to me. You said, what I thought an addict was 20 years ago is not what an addict is at all, and it's not what an addict is today. And the mental health issue, I think, maybe the last 10 years is coming around, that the stigma isn't there that it used to be, that like you're nuts. You're not. It's just it's like everything else. And I think you told me that you partner with 56 different agencies. I know Jen Hansen was on a couple of weeks ago, and you said she's been a big help with you.
Absolutely.
It's surrounded me. I brought on Jen because addiction, mental illness has surrounded me throughout my life. People I work with, people in the family, people older than me, younger than me, all around. And that really stuck out, that this isn't the normal duty of a sheriff. This isn't what most sheriffs are going to go out and say, we're going to help the community in this way. Correct?
Well, the interesting thing is, and I didn't realize this being in law enforcement myself for most of my adult life, I didn't understand exactly what a sheriff did either.
Okay.
Or honestly could do. Really is the appropriate response. I understand that the constitutional requirements of the office, about protecting the courts and the judges, and doing the legal side of it, doing sheriff sales, and doing fugitive warrant squads and those kinds of things. And those are the things we're required to do. But I didn't realize that the sheriff himself can really shape what he believes and what he wants and what he's capable of doing. And so once I realized that, and I understood that I had a lot more flexibility to partner with a lot of different groups to make us successful. I mean, the Hope One Project, was a idea of a sheriff up in Morris County, Jim Gannon, great guy. I was looking for something that positive that we can latch onto, a model that we could copy. Within the first month, I was able to go up there, take a look at his model, and we took his model. Not only did we take his model, we took the name. I told Jim that I love the name so much because I consider hope not being a wish or a prayer, but an actual action, action on both sides, right? Creating something, and that's really what I'm about. Is looking at a problem and bringing a solution that is actionable, that we can put into movement. So your
numbers, Tim and yourself, I think you've helped over 1,000 people.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that we're the most prolific treatment, placement, recovery, maintenance program in the state of New Jersey. And it's not because of me. It's because I think I'm a good, I'm good at selecting good talent, right? And I've been able to get a lot of good partners together to compound and address this issue. We don't put people in the treatment in days or weeks or days, but we put them in hours. I mean, we put people in 18 people in the treatment in one day. And when we go out and find these individuals, we've been able to put over 1,000 people in the treatment in a little under 2 years, right off the streets of Atlantic County, most of them having no insurance whatsoever.
Yeah, and you said that everybody says, "Oh, I can't go right now. I don't have insurance. I have to check." And you're like, "You have an answer for everything." All right, I have somebody. I got a phone number for this. I got a phone number for that. 3 hours later, they're in treatment.
Absolutely, and we do everything from transporting them to making that connection. We don't give you a phone number and say, "Hey, we think this group can help you." We make the phone call. We keep making the phone call until we match whatever the issue is with a provider. And we get that person to say, okay, yeah, we can help this person. We turn the phone over to that individual right there on the street and do an intake. And then when we get that intake back, what time do they have to be there? Okay, so then we talk to that individual, and a lot of times there are excuses because a lot of people don't expect to get help.
Right.
And they're not prepared at sometimes. And we tell them, look, you don't have transportation, that's okay, because the sheriff has a program to get you transportation. you don't have ID, because most of these individuals that end up on the street lose their ID within hours if they're out there for days or weeks, whatever. That's okay, because the sheriff has created an emergency ID program just for individuals going into treatment. And we'll get you ID and we'll get you there. And we continue to make sure you don't have insurance. That's okay, because we're going to make that connection as well and make sure you get provided what you need. And then we follow these individuals through their treatment step down and through their recovery maintenance as well. Because if the only thing we were doing is placing people into treatment, I would consider it a complete failure, because there has to be support, right? Every one of us, every human being on the face of the earth gets support. You get support, Michael. I get support. We all get support in some way, shape, or form. And in some people's mentality, think, oh, well, I gave them an opportunity. I got them into treatment. That's all I have to do. Right. That's not right. Everyone needs support, and those individuals need support too in their unique way. And we've been able to not only follow them and do case management with them, another layer of support, but connect them with home groups, connect them with housing. I mean, we've put over 80 people into sober living through the Sheriff's Foundation. We've found hundreds of people's jobs. We've connected them with utility assistance through Ocean Inc. and through other partners that we have, and continue to try to compound that recovery so we're there for them at every step of the way.
So is this something that costs the taxpayers money?
That's an interesting thing. Now, I would love to tell you that at no time did I ever ask the county to help support this program financially. But at the time, that wasn't available. So unfortunately, my nature is a little bit of a bull in the china shop. I went full steam ahead without it. And the Hope One program itself is funded through grants and partnerships, and not funded through the county. It's interesting, all the things that we do, the T-shirts that the team wears are funded through the foundation. The phones that they use are funded through a grant with a partnership with the prosecutor's office, who has been a phenomenal partner, by the way. Prosecutor Tyner and Chief DeShields with the Hope One Project, and a great support system. But it's another partnership, right? And we have another partnership with Rowan University, $2 million grant, the largest grant ever received by the Sheriff's Office. And that also helped funds the program as well.
Through Rowan to help educate, or they get involved in a certain way, or?
Yeah, so they're doing a couple different things. It's a program about quick response, to overdoses, to education about Narcan, training people to train others, to be able to put out information on access to services. So there's a lot of different things that Rowan has been able to help us with, and we're facilitators of that program. So we help push it. We've trained over 800 people in Narcan on the streets of our cities where Narcan is most needed. And we not only have trained them in Narcan, but we place Narcan in their hands. So, I mean, that's really important. And if you think about Narcan saves so many people's lives every single day. And, people, depending on what your thought process is, or how many times are you going to save someone's life? As many times as I have to. There is no time. How many times are you going to give people an opportunity to go into treatment? As many times as it needs to be. This door is never shut. This well is never dry. And it's funny, and, some people would criticize that this is not really a sheriff's preview. He should be doing other things. Okay. But think about mental health and addiction. It's a direct correlation to crime and criminality. And the more people we help, the healthier communities we create, and the safer communities we create. And if you can't see that connection, then you really are missing a large portion of what's going on in this country.
If you can't help them today, then you'll be arresting them tomorrow.
Right. And interesting thing is incarceration costs 4 times as much as treatment. Right. So not only does it waste taxpayers' money, but it's not anywhere near as successful as helping people where they are, continue to maintenance, and giving them opportunities. The prosecutor and I partnered on a program called the AC Lead program, which is a post-arrest pre-indictment program for individuals that are suffering from mental health and substance abuse. And And it's interesting, we know that if we can get people to agree to go into treatment instead of going through the criminal justice system and getting incarcerated, not only are we much more successful in their ability to simulate back into the community and be productive, but we're saving taxpayers money by doing it.
Right. Yeah, there definitely is a stigma there. And to save people, to do that, you were lieutenant of police in Atlantic City Police Department before the sheriff.
Yes, sir.
And then you become the sheriff, and you said that someone in your family had suffered from mental illness and addiction, and that was your motivation, and said there's more people like this. I'd like to help the other families that are going through what I've been through.
Absolutely. I mean, even with the great insurance that I had as a police officer, honestly, completely uneducated on what it was and what addiction really was and what it looked like and what recovery looked like. And I'll be the first to admit it. I'm ashamed, honestly, of what I believed 16 years ago. Right. Being intimately involved and understanding the process and the struggles people go through. No one chooses to be an addict. No one chooses to suffer from mental health. And not only did I see it in my own personal family, but I saw it in my law enforcement family, and it's still there. It's one of the reasons why resiliency is so important to me and why I was on the working group to create the resiliency program for the state of New Jersey. The state of New Jersey has mandated resiliency for every single officer in the state starting in 2021. We're the first state in the entire country to do that. And resiliency isn't unique to just police officers. Resiliency is something that all of us, regardless if you're a 10-year-old kid or a 50-year-old man, we all need to learn and understand how to build resiliency in our lives.
Yeah. And that goes, I would imagine when you say the police department, because it's such a stressful job and over time it eats away, that's where you're headed there, the resiliency to help the people, to help them cope with the stresses, to help the officers get by. One thing that I read was something about your police reform and how you were saying about this mental health and this upkeep and looking, instead of once they're in, and now, put your 20 years in and just try to do a good job. What were your thoughts on the police reform or moving forward?
Yeah, so I've been privileged enough to be appointed to the Attorney General's Use of Force Task Force, and we've been working with some great people across the state to kind of address some of the administrative as well as some of the policies and procedures for law enforcement to make sure that they're clear to the public as well as clear to officers, so they have a really clear process to follow. However, the reality of that is that we don't change human beings by giving them a written document or changing a policy or changing a law. Honestly, you change human beings by supporting them and creating a professional development of the entire society of who and what we are. So I put together a police professional development program based on police reform and to address some of these issues. And there are 5 or 6 actually areas which I talk about.
Okay.
Some of them are being addressed in some ways are not. New Jersey, believe it or not, is very progressive in law enforcement, and they've done some great things, but there's no standardization. And unless we standardize things and give people successful models to follow, they just become, honestly, rhetoric. And then we continue to go through this cycle of every couple 10 or 20 years that we need new police reform. We need new police reform. That failed. Right. Well, it failed because we didn't support people in the success of a program. So I'll give you a quick analogy.
Okay.
If you wanted to lose weight and you said, hey, Eric, you're in good shape. You're a dietitian. I need some help. Can you help me? I said, Michael, I'm going to help you. I'm going to write out really clear what you have to do. I'm going to put it down in a document, and it's going to be very clear. I'm actually even going to give you a little written test on the back side of it, so I can make sure that you understood what I wrote you. So I give you this document and say, hey, Mike, I pat you on the back. Good luck. Have fun. Your chances of losing weight and being healthy are almost zero. Well, that's policy and procedure that's being put onto law enforcement. They're given a written document, they're given a written test, and they're told to, hey, change. But if I said, Michael, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to really help you. I'm going to come over every day, and I'm going to encourage you and talk to you about why being healthy and eating right is important for your life. Leadership, right? Guidance. I'm going to do even something better than that. I'm going to come over every day, and we're going to go food shopping together. I'm going to help you pick out that food.
Right.
You know, the ability to have access to training and professional development. You know what, Michael? I'm going to even do something even more than that. I'm going to cook those meals for you every single day. You know, now again, another layer of leadership and the ability to understand where you're going. And I'm going to work out with you every single day as well, giving you the tools and the ability to, be successful, right? Your success rate then is going to go through the roof. Well, that's the same exact thing that we need to do for law enforcement. We want them to change. We want them to be able to deal with stress on a different level. We want them to be able to process and communicate and see the community in a different way. Then we need to be able to support them and give them access to this and be able to push it forward. Now, the bottom line, honestly, and I've talked to many officers and many chiefs about this, and the big concern, for all of them is, well, how do we afford it? How do we implement it in a 10-man department, let alone a 300-man department? Well, that's part of the success model, right?
Right.
We shouldn't just create standardization in hiring, in mental health wellness, in physical fitness, in training, tactical, technical, training, leadership, standardization, and community engagement. It's great to say, let's do these things, but how do we fund it? How do we implement it? Those things have to be addressed, right? To create a successful model. Don't give me a model that sounds great, but you don't fund it and you don't allow us to give us some way to be successful to do it. But you can change people, right? Mentally well officers, physically fit officers are led by, people that are mentally well and physically fit and technically trained, create safer and healthier interactions with law enforcement. Period.
How are the officers, when you talk about this with the officers, how did they receive this? Are they looking forward? Do they welcome it?
Yeah, listen, police officers in this country, have, sorely gotten a bad rap, and they're getting a lot of pressure, and there's definitely a loud, I believe, minority that's, anti, law enforcement.
Right.
Majority of people I speak to, Democrat, Republican, minority, not support police 100%. And I want police officers to realize that, your community cares about you. And especially in Atlantic County, we have some great police departments. I mean, they're all good police departments. Don't get me wrong. They're all great police departments. We have some great I don't know one community in Atlantic County that doesn't have a good relationship with their community. Not one police department. But, police officers want to be supported. We understand that we're asked to do more than, we're capable some days, and we're not given the tool sets to be able to do that. We're not supported in, training, professional development, mental health wellness, hiring, retention, even community engagement. I'll give you a quick story. I was talking with a reverend locally, and he was telling me that, one of the local communities here in Atlantic County, a small community, not Atlantic City or Pleasantville, and he was telling me that he has a friend who's a police officer there, and he's been a police officer there forever, 20 some years. And he also lives in that community, and he raised his kids. Both of them have raised their kids in the community. It's kind of how they know each other, because their kids do functions together. And he told me he had a conversation with them recently, and the officer was telling him how horrible and how dangerous and how bad the people were in that community. And he was floored, honestly, because he loves that community. He's raised his kids there, and he sees the beauty of that community every day. And he said to me, and I said, well, that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't understand that this officer only sees 5% of the bad every single day. If I gave you a bologna sandwich every day and I told you that was filet mignon, you would have no idea what filet actually tasted like. That officer has spent 25 years policing a town, going to the worst situations every single day, 10 of them for 25 years. What do you think his perception is going to be? So when we go to community engagement and we talk about community policing or community engagement, there's a lot of different terms today about, you know, community engagement.
Yes.
Some of the healthiest officers in the department are those officers that get to work in the community every single day. And there's not a department in Atlantic County, probably not in the state of New Jersey, that doesn't have some type of community neighborhood program. However, it's usually one officer does it. One officer is in control of it. We need community engagement that is on a daily basis, that every single officer gets to see the other side of that community. And that community is just as important, gets to see the other side of that officer. That ends up being in creating healthier and safer communities.
Yeah, when the community actually knows some names of the police officers, right? When they see them at Wawa and they say, "Oh, that's Tom," you know, he gets involved with my kid's school, and when that, and then that you build a relationship back and forth. Not just everybody wants to know an officer to get out of a ticket. It's not about that, right? It's like it's about the community building it up. I talked to Rob Palillo. I got to give a shout out to him because he said you're the best sheriff that we've had in 20 years. Tim Reed has helped me bring it on today. I got to talk to you. I was blown away by, I mean, you could work 8-hour day, but I imagine your days aren't 8 hours, correct?
No, there is no real, you know, time, and you know, and it is a commitment to the community and to the programs and the things that we're trying to accomplish. And I mean, I've had a lot of people say to me, "Sheriff, you're doing so much, you know, slow up." You know, I said, "What do you mean? How do you slow up? How do you not address the issues that need to be addressed today?" You know, our work with the veterans groups out there, again, another group that we work with and partner with throughout the county. I mean, we have to try to address these issues, and we address them big and we address them small. I mean, we talked about, you know, the whole One Project and all the things that we've done, but we've, you know, our community care initiative has fed over 10,000 people. I mean, we were in Hamilton yesterday, and we fed 400 families. 400 families. You know, a partnership with the Food Bank and the Mount Carmel Society and Hamilton Police Department and Impacto Ministries. And, you know, I know I'm going to leave someone out, but a lot of good people were out there helping us. And how do you not address that, right? But how do you not address that veteran or that senior that needs a walker, right? And can't get it through normal channels? How do you not take a look at that and say, we'll make sure that you have the walker that you need? Or, you know, some, you know, individual, an elderly person has the only communication they have in the world is through an iPad or a you know, a notebook of some type. And, you know, how do you not address that need? Right. Well, that's why the foundation, of course, exists. And you know, it's really about addressing the needs of individuals. If you know, I know this is kind of corny, but I truly believe it. If you help one person at a time, if that's really our focus, it's amazing how compounding that creates. You know, our partnership with the Food Bank is amazing. It's amazing. I mean, we do deliveries for them every single day. We do food drop programs with them. You know, we've supported half a dozen other food distribution groups that are doing incredible work. Impacto Ministries and John Diego and Friends in Action and the South Jersey Bangladesh community and Neighbors Feeding Neighbors and EHT and Galloway Seniors programs. And how do you not do that stuff, right?
Well, especially now since COVID, the food lines and the food bank, I mean, they're unbelievable. There's a lot of people who lived proud lives and worked every single day, you know, swallowing their pride a little bit, getting in these lines and accepting a handout. So we do need you. We do need these things, you know, just to get us back to where we were, get us back on our feet when we get back working and when we can provide for ourselves. So that's grateful. We're grateful for you for all that.
Thank you, sir. It's a privilege. It really is.
But also when you say, like, how can you not think of an elderly person that needs a walker? I don't think many people are thinking that way. Right. You know, I think people go about their lives, and I was surprised to hear you say that, because, and you're looking at this and you're thinking, how can I help him? How can I help them How can I help them? And then you're talking about the ripple effect. If I tell him, he'll tell somebody will get back to me, somebody will volunteer, somebody will have 10 walkers here in a week,
Right.
but it surprised me that you say that you're thinking, and you say, how can you not? But I would think that, where does it come from? Just compassion, just live it, just working on the streets with the force for so many years and seeing so many people, and you just want to improve the community?
I'm not sure. I'd have to give credit to my parents, my mother, my father. My father was a Holocaust survivor.
Wow.
And if anyone had a reason to distrust or hate other human beings, it was him. I mean, he saw most of his family murdered, including his younger brother. But he didn't believe that. He would tell us that don't agree to disagree. He said, agree to find common ground.
Okay.
Agree to figure out some small thing that you can work with another person, regardless of what your differences were. Because he believed if you agree to disagree, you start putting up a wall between you, that person, and then eventually you no longer care in any way, shape, or form for the well-being of that person, and you can actually dehumanize them, right? And we're not successful as humans. And I think he meant, mostly about me and my brothers, and wanted to make sure that we stayed as a family unit, but he loved people. And
Right.
he believed in people, and everyone was welcome in my household, regardless of you could speak German. In fact, he spoke German. He wasn't afraid of people. He didn't hate people. You were a good person. He wanted you to be supported by us as a family, and that's really how I was brought up. And my brother is very much like that too. But I have two brothers, and they're both like that. My one brother, who is a attorney, and a very, very successful attorney, has helped so many people that, from every walk of life, and never charged them a dime just because they needed help. Right. It's just kind of our nature I honestly believe that's why we're here as human beings. If we're not here to help each other, to support each other, then, I think that's really our purpose. Right. So I'm using this office to push what I believe is the purpose of us as humans, which is support and help other humans.
Yeah, it's like Jamie just said, you're a remarkable human being. You need to be elected because what you started is just begun, and you're doing amazing things for Atlantic County. I can't thank you enough for being here today. I really enjoyed talking. You opened up my eyes and ears today, and for me and anybody who's listening, thank you for everything you're doing for us.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for all your listeners. It was a real privilege, and love to come and talk anytime.
I appreciate that. Good luck in November.
Thank you, Sheriff
Eric Scheffler, County Sheriff. Vote for him. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next week.